You know, I know many people who watch this channel on a regular basis enjoy a lot of the stories that come together literally from people that I've interviewed, and then you find out things about certain individuals and think, why did they do that, or why did they turn that down, you know, particularly when it's been one of your favourite stars. If you cast your mind back, I know it's a long time to think about this, but for those of us that enjoyed the super soaps of the 1980s, do you remember those, where everything stopped, didn't it, on a Friday night or a Thursday night, when Dallas, Dynasty, Knots Landing, Falcon Crest ruled the airwaves. They were like the Hollywood great movies, weren't they, of that time. There you had Angela Channing ruling the winery in Falcon Crest, and of course John Forsyth alongside the beautiful Linda Evans and the dastardly Dame Joan Collins over on Dynasty, and of course the super brilliant Larry Hagman with the equally lovely Linda Gray as Swellen in Dallas. But it could have been all so different, and this was all thanks to a wonderful actor that had enjoyed incredible success over here right from the 1940s. And as the wonderful later actor Sir Roger Moore told me, even he was perplexed as to why this megastar, well, let this deal worth millions slip through his fingers. Let me explain. Morning, lovely to see you today as ever. Thank you for taking the time out. We'll have a quick wave. You all right? I'm glad you all enjoyed the comment, by the way, about suet pudding. Pudding in a tin, steak kidney. Yes, they were delicious, weren't they? Anybody have one of these though? Yes, jam roly-poly in a tin. Do you remember those? Lovely. And it ended up being like rock hard, didn't it, when you got it out the tin? Almost you'd severed your own hand off trying to get the tin round. Do you remember? Absolute nightmare. The things we used to eat, but they were tasty, you know, not like today, shrinkflation. Can't believe it, everything's packaged up. You need a magnifying glass. Mini Ritz, might as well just call them crumbs. It's ridiculous, you know. Oh, don't get me going on stuff like that. Back as ever though to your story of the day. Now this man, yes, Stuart Granger was one of the biggest stars of the 1940s, 50s, right through until the 1960s. As he pointed out, he sort of fell out of favour. He was married, of course, to a beautiful lady, Jean Simmons, and this sort of ruled Hollywood. He went to MGM in 1949 and had a rather successful stint over in the wonderful land of California, but he never really made it to the higher echelons that people had actually enjoyed over here in the United Kingdom. He was part of what they call the Gainsborough films, which were filmed down at Gainsborough Studios in Shepherd's Bush, and you know, Madonna and the Seven Moons, Caravan, stuff like that, hit after hit after hit. But you see, Stuart Granger was one of these, how can I put this nicely, from people who knew him a little bit difficult to say the least. You know, he was kind of overshadowed by the likes of people like, you know, Richard Burton, Marlon Brando, and he saw himself up there. Others just saw him as a good-looking man who could swash and buckle. You get the picture. So, as you can imagine, by the time the 1970s had come around, Sir Roger Moore told me that he was thrilled to be co-starring opposite him in a movie called The Wild Geese, alongside Richard Burton as well. And basically, although Stuart had moved into TV a bit, he always saw it as the third-rate cousin. You know, you really shouldn't do it. Movies were the thing. Of course, he had to change his mind as movies went down the pan and he got older. He appeared in everything from Columbo to Murder, She Wrote. But he did turn away the opportunity, get this, to be the original Blake Carrington in Dynasty. Now, I have had this verified, not just by Roger, but also by other stars of Dynasty that I've been lucky enough to meet. Maxwell Caulfield, Emma, of course, who played, I think, what did Emma play? Yes, Fallon Carrington. Wonderful lady, you know. And you just get all of these stories about, well, why? And can you imagine how different the role would have been? Apparently, he had a meeting with Aaron Spelling, but wanted a colossal amount of money. And at the time, Dynasty wasn't doing very well on ABC and not raking in the ratings. Hence the reason the story goes, of course, that John Forsyth was the only one that was going to be considered, even though he'd been the voice, if you remember, on the sort of telephone box for Charlie's Angels. He'd worked with Aaron before on a number of occasions. Stuart Granger thought this was absolute drivel, didn't think the script was any good, and certainly didn't think it was going to take off. But even later down the line, he had the opportunity to come back and this time play Blake Carrington's brother. Yes, eventually taken on the role by Christopher Cazenove. Do you remember him? Wonderful actor. But apparently he turned it down again. He said it's not enough money. And he thought because now the show was a success, they would have enough money to pay him. And sadly, that is the reason why Stuart Granger bypassed one of the golden eras of television, where soaps ruled the airwaves And Stuart Granger, once again, could have become a major star. And for him, he decided to write a book, and he tossed that around a bit, and he said in the book that he'd been his own worst mistakes, as it were, at making business agreements. But it was something that he continued to do, seemingly rather badly, throughout his career. But what he left behind, of course, was a wonderful legacy of films that we'll enjoy for many, many years to come. Neil Sean in the very heart of London.